Je pense avoir répondu à la question tout à l'heure en disant.
I believe I already answered that question when I said it was Mr. Soro.
This meeting is 26th November, and we see it's a late night meeting. It's after 10 o'clock, and you leave after midnight. Was this, if you just try and think to the best of your recollection, it says here, vendredi, the day is Friday, the 26th November. Is it the meeting here at the residence at 10 or so at night?
Monsieur le Président.
I haven't asked a question, so can I...
Let the OTP finish, and then you have the floor.
Mon objection est justement l'objet de la question.
My objection is in relation to the question she intends to raise, because she has provided some kind of an answer in the question. And that's not the first time my colleague opposite is doing so. A little further up, she said we were going to talk of a second meeting, but prior to that, the witness had not mentioned a meeting. Once again, she's referring to a meeting which took place late, and the witness did not mention any meeting taking place at any time whatsoever. So we need to rely on the comments of the logbook and not interpret it.
In relation to this meeting, earlier on, the witness in the English translation said, I might remember the purpose of the visit in general. So the question is, what was the purpose of the visit in general?
There was a question from His Honour, in fact.
Do you contest the translation?
Monsieur le Président,
Oui.
si vous permettez.
Mr. President, with your leave, I think in French, line 74, page 74, line 6, I do not remember the purpose of the visit, which is contrary to the English translation, says counsel.
I no longer remember what was thus discussed during the visit. I might remember the purpose of the visit in general. That's what I read here.
I think Mr. Alti has it right, I think, from the French transcript as I read it now. In fact, it says, after the bit that Your Honour has, it says, Je ne peux plus me rappeler de l'objet de la visite. So I think, in fact, that's correct.
Yes, well, it's once again the translation, which is not accurate.
I think I'll ask the question
so
again.
I withdraw my question, of course.
Let me check, because sometimes the French transcript is not accurate, so I'll check, perhaps, Your Honour.
Please do so.
Now, do you now, thinking back at that, having seen the logbook entries, do you now remember the broad purpose of that visit of the 26th November?
Je ne me souviens pas de l'objet de la.
I do not remember the purpose of the visit. Now, if you have any material that can help, please do. I'm ready to consider it.
Thinking about this date, the 26th, which is a Friday, on this logbook we see that, can you recall, in reference to the meeting you've just been telling us about moments ago and before the lunch break, the meeting at the palace, was this visit to the residence, this visit with Mangou, with Casarati, same time as those two, same time as the Premier Ministre, was this visit on the same day, before the meeting at the palace, after the meeting at the palace? Can you help us with that?
J'ai précisé tout à l'heure, Madame le.
Madam Prosecutor, a short while ago, I specified that when it came to the meeting at the presidency, that meeting at the presidency took place in the afternoon, which we attended. Then the visit took place after the meeting at the palace, quite naturally.
So now I understand this meeting here at the residence is the same day as the meeting at the palace, just later in the day. It's at night time.
C'est pas ce que j'ai dit. Ce n'est
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. I did not talk about a day. A short while ago, I said that, before the break actually, I said that I did not remember the exact day of the meeting you're talking about, Mr. President.
Just finally, there is an entry late night on the 26th, I think, of November. Do you remember this meeting?
Je répète,
Let me repeat myself. If my name appears on the logbook, it means that I went there. I have no problem with that. But I don't remember the purpose of the visit.
Thank you.
Well, just perhaps I was being unclear because we were talking about a different meeting earlier at the palace, and so now I'm asking you a different question, which is
But make dates, put dates.
this meeting is on whether the meeting at the palace was also on the 26th November, same date as...
Mr. President, could counsel be advised to slow down for the benefit of the interpreters?
Down for the purpose of interpreters.
Was the meeting at the palace that you've spoken about, was it the same day, 26th November, Friday, as the meeting, as the visit that we see here recorded in the logbook at the residence on the 26th?
But if he does not remember this meeting, he can't possibly answer this question.
I asked the question if it helps
Yes,
him to try and situate it, if he's thinking about the meeting at the palace, talking about the curfew.
Have you had,
26th.
excuse me, have you had two meetings on the same day, one in the residence and one at the palace? The first one in the afternoon and the second one late in the evening?
je répète encore une fois, Monsieur le Président.
Oui.
Answer. Once again, Mr. President, let me repeat myself. Let me repeat myself once again, Mr. President. Now, when it comes to the meeting at the presidency, and I said this before the break, I don't remember the day. It might have been on a Thursday or on a Friday. In any event, that meeting took place before the second round of elections. That I am certain about. I also said that it took place in the afternoon, although I don't remember the day. Now, there has been a superimposition of the meeting or the visit to the residence, because we're dealing with the residence here, and the day is known, but I don't remember that day, and I don't remember the purpose of that visit. Let me repeat, I don't remember the purpose of that visit.
I think it's clear now.
Thank you. And now that we have a day, because we have Friday the 26th November, now the presidential debate was on Thursday, 25th November. That's when it took place. Right?
Étonnement.
Okay.
Yes.
Knowing that, that's when the presidential debate took place. Thursday the 25th. Can you tell us, in reference to that, what date the meeting at the palace took place? Was it the day after? The 2 days after?
But we have the logbook.
The palace, Your Honour. Yes.
La réunion du palais,
The meeting at the palace, if I were able to recall the exact date, I would have told you. a long time ago. What stops me from telling you that?
Des souvenirs, des mémoires.
My problem is that these things happened a long time ago and I cannot remember. 7 years ago. 7 years ago since these events took place. Maybe this is even the 8th year. It's difficult.
Now, I wanted just to go back. There are some more meetings, and I'll go back with you again in the logbook, if I may. Now, let's just... I appreciate we've spoken about the entry on the 19th already. And let me go back to that because I want to just make sure this has been dealt with fully. It's at page 0930, and we'll just deal with it quickly again. Now it's up on your screen, and I just want to, again, looking at this, it's the 19th of November, and there are entries there of you at item 14, arriving 14:01, leaving 15:10. Kazarate at item 13, arriving 13:52, leaving 15:10. And Mongu, arriving 13:40, leaving 15:10. My question, do you recall yourself entering and leaving the residence on the 19th of November between those hours?
Au risque de me répéter,
Now, at the risk of repeating myself over and over again, let me say that these types of details, it's not obvious that I would remember them 8 years after the events.
Selection of a meeting with those three individuals and what you, with the president, and what you discussed.
d'abord, ce n'est pas chaque fois qu'on va là.
First of all, it is not a matter of course that whenever you go to the residence, you have a meeting. And furthermore, I do not recall the exact purpose of that visit. Now, when you interviewed me some time ago, I was able to remember a number of meetings we had. Once at the residence, twice at the presidency, at the presidential palace. But as for the other visits to the residence, I really do not have a full recollection of what we may have discussed or what I went to do there at any particular time.
That's fine. I just want to make sure I've asked you the question at least, so that at least you've had a chance to make your response. So again, the same questions, because I realise I didn't put those questions to you in relation to the next one, which was the 24th of November, and that's at page 0944.
Je suis désolé, Monsieur le Président. Je suis désolé, mais chaque fois...
Mr. President, I'm sorry, but whenever my learned colleague uses the word meeting, I'm going to rise, because we're playing with words here. Let us rely on the dates. Let us stick to the dates and the dates only.
And to the entry into the palace.
Entry, departures.
Yes.
Yep. Page 0944, if we look at the entry and departures of you and others, well, let's start with 14. We have Mongu, arriving 2021, leaving 22:23. Item 15, we have Kazarate, arriving 20:37, leaving 22:23. Then we have you on the following page. If we can go to 0946. Sorry, 0946, the next but one. Item 16, and we have Mr. Ministre Cadet Bertin, he arrives at 20:59, leaves at 22:23. So just to give you a chance to address this, do you recall entering and leaving the presidential residence on this date, which is 24th of November, between these times?
Non, madame.
No, madam.
And do you have again, just moving forward again in the logbook, we'll go past the 26th, but just one question that I didn't follow up on the 26th, the meeting at the palace. You told us that Mr. Ouattara was unhappy with the curfew. Can you tell us, not happy with the curfew, can you tell us, please, why it was? What were you told was the reason why he was not happy with the curfew? Do you remember that?
Je n'en sais strictement.
Answer: I know absolutely nothing about it.
Let's go, please, to the Wednesday, the 1st of December, which is at page 0964 of the logbook, same document. And the date appears on that page, and then if we go over to 0966, then there's a series of names. And if we just look then, we can see at 29 we see the DG police arrives 15:38, leaves 16:40. And then we see at 33, we see Mongu, he arrives 15:43, he leaves 16:40. At 34 we see you, arrive 15:43, leave 16:40. 35 we see Gazarate, arrive 15:43, leave 16:40. 36 we have General Dogbo, arrive 15:50, leave 16:40. And 37 we have Comter, arrives 15:52, leaves 16:40. Again, same questions as previously. Do you have do you recall entering and leaving the residence on the 1st December, these hours? Leaving at the same time as these people?
Les heures sont devant moi.
Answer: the hours are before me, so I know what the hours were. But as for the purpose of the visit, I can't remember. I do not remember the purpose of the visit, and I'd like to underscore that I do not remember the purpose of the visit.
All right, if you don't remember the purpose of the visit, do you remember, in fact, visiting with these generals the president at his residence on the 1st of December?
En fait, pour être plus...
Sir, well, to be crystal clear, I do not remember the visit itself. To be more clear, I do not remember the visit, and I do not remember why I went there on that day.
Now, I want quite swiftly just to look at the two decrees that are issued around this time. And again, we'll just identify those. They're at item 89 of the list of material, and it's at CIV OTP 00180047. And the page number would be the same as before, the 0049. And just to deal with the first decree, is just on the top right, is the decree of the 1st of December, quote, portant, if we just go up a bit, quote, portant, prorogation du couvre.
Extending the curfew.
Bottom of the page, we have another decree, this time of the 6th of December, and it's, quote, instituant un couvre-feu.
Installing a curfew.
Do you recall that the curfews were extended on the one hand and issued on the other on the 1st and 6th of December, respectively?
J'avais dit que
Answer. I had said that the curfew had been imposed a little before the elections, that is to say, the second round thereof. That's what I said earlier on. Now, we were told to observe the measures instituted by the curfew. And the question that you're putting to me, what are you asking me about, the decree, or I have it as to whether I was aware of the decree? What precisely are you after?
We've seen the decree for the curfew of the 26th November, and my question was whether you were aware that that decree was then extended on the 1st of December, and then a further decree issued on the 6th of December for curfews.
c'est possible que c'est
Answer. Well, it was possible that the decree was read out over the television or the radio, but we can't remember all of those details. It is possible that it was read out on the TV or the radio, and it is possible that during our various meetings, the Chief of General Staff informed us of these measures. It is possible.
Well, let me ask you this, so as not to be confusing, not about the decree itself, we'll move on. Were École de Gendarmerie students, were they involved in implementing the curfew of the 26th November?
la participation des
Answer. Student participation of measures is always decided upon by the senior commander of the gendarmerie. At the risk of repeating myself, the students are the reservist intervention measure at the disposal of the gendarmerie, and if he is of the opinion that they should take part in operations, he will give instructions, and these instructions will be followed. Message from the interpreter. Could counsel please not move her papers around so much because I can't hear the witness. Thank you.
I'd like to call up, please, CIV OTP 00440073. Just take your time to look at it, please. There's the first page, and if we could just move to the then the very last page, just to see who's the signatory. And if we can just go back to the first page again, let me just ask you this question. Do you recall, as commander of the École de Gendarmerie Abidjan, do you recall receiving this document?
À l'époque, oui.
Answer. At the time, yes. This is a document that was addressed to the commander of the École de Gendarmerie, so I must have seen it.
I'll show you another document, please. It's 0043-0420, same prefix. And this one's just for when we get to it. It's dated the 25th of November, and it's from the Commandant Première Légion Mobile, Destinataire Commandant École Gendarmerie Abidjan.
Recipient, the commander of the École de Gendarmerie in Abidjan.
Objet demande de renfort personnel.
Subject, request for reinforcements in manpower.
And is this a document that you recall receiving as commandant of the École de Gendarmerie, de la Gendarmerie?
Oui.
Yes.
Let me ask you, SECOS, was SECOS involved in implementing the curfew, any of the curfews?
Nous sommes au niveau de l'école.
Answer. We're talking about the École de Gendarmerie here. I don't see what gymnastics we have done to come back to the SECOS. We're talking here about a document that concerns the École de Gendarmerie. This document here concerns the École de Gendarmerie. Are we talking about that, or are we talking about the SECOS?
So we can move on from that document now. I've asked you the question whether you recall receiving it, and now we're moving on, changing topic to SECOS. So SECOS, your other position. So was SECOS involved, SECOS, in the implementation of the curfew? Any of them?
Je vous ai dit.
Answer. I told you before we took the break at lunch that the SECOS, all the measures before the election, the SECOS was not directly concerned by those measures. But at the same time, SECOS was doing its everyday work. It has a dissuasive presence out on the ground in order to provide security for people and their possessions. That's its everyday undertaking in all the sectors and communes. So, when there is such a measure, then you can kill one bird with two stones. So, according to the times of the curfew, it can call upon members of the population to say that, be careful, at this specific moment in time, the curfew is applicable, so you need to go home. It can do that. So what is SECOS? Well, these are gendarmes and policemen, nothing else. Gendarmes and policemen. So it can do that, but it is not their primary mission. and we were still in that phase.
All right, and we'll just look, please, at one document quickly. It's 00710697, and it's item 72 in the list of material for my learned friends. Now, this isn't a document that is addressed to you. It's a message from the cote to the
Message from the cote to the chief PC election period,
1st of December 2010. Now, I just wanted to just take you to a passage and then just ask you to comment. If we could go to the following page, halfway down. And we can see it says, under the heading Secundo, it says Alpha, and then it says, quote, couvre-feu respect...
Curfew respected for the major part. However, some incidents of aggression in Abobo.
697. Under Bravo, we have, just going down a little bit, we have a, quote, patrouille mixte, and then in brackets, gendarmerie, police, secos, etc. So just to check, does that reflect what you were telling us about secos activities at this time?
À cette époque,
Answer. At that moment in time, SECOS was still undertaking its daily work of being out on the ground, conducting patrols and ensuring the safety or security of people and their possessions.
Now, we'll move on from this. We're going in chronological order, which is probably apparent to you. So I want to ask you about the 3rd of December now. Now, you spoke to us earlier, in your testimony earlier today. You said, you talked about a meeting in early December, in fact, that you remembered and that you discussed with the investigators in your interview with the Office of the Prosecutor. An early December meeting with all the general officers when they were notified by the Chief of Staff, and you went to the residence. And this was today at page 45 of the English, lines 12 to 14. Now I want to take you to the logbook, which is same 0088-0863. And at page 0970, just simply for the record, is the start of the entry dated the 3rd of December. Then we go to the page 0974 and a series of entries from 51 and onwards. Now, I'm not going to go through the process of reading those all out. You see there's a series of names of persons who are arriving at about the same time, similar times, leaving at the same time, 2050 hours. This is from number 51 right the way down to 60. And you are at number 52 there, arriving, it says, at 1946, leaving at 2050. Now, do you recall arriving and departing from the presidential residence on this occasion?
Je ne pourrais pas vous donner des...
Answer. I'm not in a position to provide you with dates because I do not recall, but I wanted to tell you that if this was the visit that all of the generals went to pay at the residence of the head of state after the announcement of the results of the second round, if that's the case, then I do remember that visit. On the occasion of that event, I do remember that visit.
Okay, well, just to remind you, the 3rd of December, that's the day after the 2nd December announcement of the results by the Constitutional Council, and it's the day before the 4th of December swearing-in ceremony of President Gbagbo.
Oui, je suis allé à la résidence.
Answer. Yes, I did go to the residence, and all the generals, we all went to the residence when the president was announced as having been re-elected. He called us all and we went to the residence at the agreed hour. We went to the residence in order to present our admiration to the head of state who had just been re-elected. We also went with a view to voicing or revoicing our availability to the head of state. I'm talking about the generals here, I'm not talking about the other people. And that was the reason why we went to that meeting. This was, I'm telling you the motives or the purpose of that visit.
Was there anything that you recall the president saying to you on that occasion that you visited?
C'était pas un cérémonial.
Answer. It wasn't a specific ceremony. It wasn't a meeting. It was a very good atmosphere. Everyone was there. Everyone was happy. And the president didn't have only us to manage. He had many other personalities who had come to congratulate him. So everyone in turn would greet him and then would step aside. We would greet him and then we would step to one side. So there was no formal ceremony, if you like, during which he would address all of those in attendance. No.
Okay, and you tell us that you were all called to go to the residence. Who called you to go to the residence?
Le chef d'état-major.
Answer. The Chief of General Staff.
Dit qu'il tenait
He told us that he had the information from Minister cder. If that's the information you're after, that's all of the information.
The generals, you said the generals here attended that meeting, and just to be clear, we have the DG Police, we have you, we have the SEMA, we have the Commander of the Air Force. Just remind us who that is.
le général de Dje Bi.
Answer. The Akakojo, the Lieutenant General.
Commandant supérieur of the gendarmerie. Kazarate? Yes. We have Admiral Vagba.
Oui.
And the
Yes.
Eaux et Forêts. Who is that?
Je me rappelle plus de son nom.
Answer. I no longer remember his name. I remember his face, but I can't remember his name.
And the Comte?
Le général Deto.
Answer. General Detto.
On this list, who you would characterise as a general who I've missed, who I haven't mentioned, just that you see here.
À ma connaissance, tout
Answer. To my knowledge, all of the military personalities that you have mentioned were with us at that meeting.
Okay, we can leave that now. Did you attend the swearing-in ceremony on the following day, on the 4th of December?
non.
Answer. No.
Now, I'd like to ask you about an incident that is reported in a document that I'm going to show you. It's 0045-0527, and it's item 132 for my learned friends on the list of material. Forgive me, this is for my learned friends. It's actually item 76 on the list of material. So let me try that again. Yeah. Can we go, please, to page 0532? I'd like you, please, to look at the bottom entry at the bottom of the page. When you've read that entry, the first 3 lines, then we can just go over to the following page, rather than me reading it all out on this occasion. But it's referencing in brief an incident on the 4th of December 2010, and the time there is 11:30. Place is Kumasi. And if you look then at the following page, the completed entry is in that first box there at the top. Have you had a chance to...
Oui.
Answer. Yes.
Now, this allegation here of 7 elements from the BMO launching tear gas and firing bullets at demonstrators, causing wounded. And one. This incident, is this something that you were aware of at the time?
À l'époque, je n'ai pas eu connaissance.
At the time, I was not aware of that incident.
Are clear. The BMO commander at this time, was that still Weedy, who you spoke about earlier?
Oui.
Yes.
And he, at this time, he reported to whom at this time?
Le commandant du SECOS, naturellement.
To the SECOS commander, obviously.
Can we go into private session?
Can we go into private session, please?